8 black inventors they never taught you about. From the very beginning of this country, black inventors were creating tools, machines, and breakthroughs. Yet their names rarely made it into the history books. These stories stretch from colonial America to the modern digital age. They show how deeply black innovation is woven into the foundation of this nation. Stick with me until the end, because one of these hidden inventions is something you probably use every single day. Before we begin, thanks to our coffee community for standing with us. Your support helps us bring hidden black history to light and create activity packs to normalize teaching black history at home. Now let's get started. Number 8. George Peake. He was born before the United States existed and lived long enough to see it take shape. George Peake didn't just survive early America, he helped his neighbors thrive with an invention that changed everything. Born in 1722 Maryland, Peake fought in the French and Indian War, then used his pay to buy land. In 1809, at age 87, he and his family became the first black settlers of Cleveland, Ohio. His wife Hannah brought a half bushel of silver dollars, a rare sign of independence and success. On the frontier, grinding corn by hand took hours of hard labor. Peake saw the need and built a hand-cranked corn mill with 2 flat stones. It turned corn into meal faster, smoother, and with far less strain. Neighbors adopted it instantly, and his design spread. In 1858, a newspaper credited him, a rare public honor for a black inventor of his era. George Peake proved skill can feed families and outlast racism. That same truth built the legacy of another man, the grandson of an enslaved bricklayer, who became America's first black-owned architecture firm founder. Tap to discover the full story, because if we stop learning these black history facts, they disappear. What if I told you an everyday chore helped one black woman turn a simple idea into a patent and build a more secure future for her family in the 1800s? Before she changed America's laundry rooms, Sarah Boone was born enslaved in North Carolina, 1832. She gained her freedom when her husband, James Boone, a free black brick mason, bought it. After the Civil War, Sarah and her husband James moved north to New Haven, Connecticut, seeking better opportunities for their family. Her husband James passed away in 1876. Sarah supported their 8 children by stitching dresses for wealthy white families, a skill that sparked an idea. In the 1800s, ironing was a headache. Heavy flat iron scorched fabric and sleeves never came out smooth. As a dressmaker, Sarah fought these problems every single day, until she decided enough was enough. In 1892, Sarah Boone became one of the first black women to secure a U.S. patent. Her improved ironing board was narrow, curved for sleeves, padded to protect fabric, and foldable for easy storage. It made ironing faster, cleaner, and shaped the crisp fashion of a new century. Manufacturers mass-produced her board for thousands of households craving modern convenience. Sarah Boone's innovation and hard work helped her family build a more stable life and own property in Connecticut. She showed us to solve problems, protect our ideas, and press our ideas into profit. Why do we honor some inventors and forget others like Sarah Boone? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you think. A black inventor turned one idea into millions and built an industry that still prints money today. He started with nothing and turned cold trucks into cold cash. Frederick McKinley Jones was born in Cincinnati, 1893. His father, a hardworking black railroad man, kept the lights on while his Irish mother vanished before he could remember her. By 9, his father had passed away, worn down by years of brutal labor on the rail lines. Alone at 11, young Frederick had no home, no family. Most kids ran the streets. Frederick ran libraries and junkyards. He pulled books from trash bins and built radios out of scrap. By 14, he was running his own auto garage, fixing engines for grown men twice his age and pocketing every dollar. Then came World War I, Army mechanic, fixing trucks under enemy fire in France. When he came home, he planted himself in Hollock, Minnesota, one black man in a tiny white town. They nicknamed him the town doctor because if it ran on fuel or wires, he made it live again. A local meat distributor complained to Frederick, "I lose money every mile, meat goes bad before it sells." Most men shrug. Frederick invented a fix, a self-powered, portable refrigerator that could bolt onto any truck or train car. No more spoiled meat, no more lost dollars. He didn't just build a cooler, he built an empire on ice. In 1938, Frederick and his partner Joseph Numero launched Thermo King and changed global trade forever. Fresh produce from California, safe seafood from Maine. Thank Frederick. When World War II broke out, his portable refrigeration saved countless soldiers by keeping blood, medicine, and food fresh on the front lines. 60 patents later, Thermo King wasn't just a company, it was the king of the cold chain. And it paid like royalty. A black man in 1940s America wasn't supposed to run an engineering boardroom. Frederick did anyway, Decades after his passing, he was awarded the National Medal of Technology by President George H.W. Bush. He mentored young black mechanics, showed them how to patent ideas, build wealth, and command respect that no one could take away. Frederick McKinley Jones didn't just cool trucks, he fed nations, healed armies, and laid the foundation for a trillion-dollar global supply chain. He was an example of relentless focus, protecting your ideas, mastering your craft, and never waiting for permission. He turned scraps into patents and one problem into a fortune. Do you think Frederick McKinley Jones gets enough credit in American history, or is he still overlooked today? Share your thoughts in the comments. Before the Red Cross built a billion-dollar blood supply system, there was a black man they rarely mention in schools. Dr. Charles Drew, the father of modern blood banking, made it possible to store blood safely, move it where it was needed, and save millions of lives. But here's the part they leave out. The same America that depended on his genius once told him his people's blood wasn't good enough. Charles Drew was born in 1904 in segregated Washington, D.C. He didn't inherit power, he built it. At Amherst College, he was one of just 13 black students out of 600. When tuberculosis took his younger sister's life, Drew didn't break, he committed himself to medicine. He taught biology and coached at Morgan College, then crossed the border to McGill University in Canada because black brilliance often had to find freedom outside America's walls. Back then, when people needed blood, they had to find a donor on the spot. If they couldn't, they often died. There was no safe way to store blood or move it where it was needed. At Columbia University, Drew's research changed that forever. His doctoral thesis, Bank Blood, laid out the process for safely collecting, storing, and transporting blood. Then he invented a refrigerated truck that made blood drives mobile and accessible to thousands. When World War II erupted, Britain faced massive blood shortages. Drew led the Blood for Britain project, organizing over 14,500 donations and sending 5,000 liters of plasma to save soldiers and civilians. He proved plasma could be separated from whole blood, stored longer, and used for transfusions without matching blood types, a breakthrough for emergency medicine. But while Drew's science saved thousands, the same system that used his ideas shut him out. The American Red Cross, which still dominates the blood industry today, barred black people from donating. When they finally accepted black donors, they segregated the blood by race. Drew called this policy exactly what it was: unscientific and insulting. He resigned from his leadership role rather than lend his name to a lie. Drew did not disappear in protest. He invested in what mattered most: black minds. At Howard University, he led the Department of Surgery and trained a generation of black surgeons who carried his legacy forward. The Red Cross today calls itself a nonprofit, but blood is still big business. Hospitals pay for testing, storage, and supply using the system Drew designed. Billions have moved through the veins of this industry, yet his name is left out of the story. If you believe these truths need to be told, tell us in the comments. What if I told you a black man without a college degree saved millions of lives, but few people even know his name? Otis Boykin was born in 1920 in a modest Dallas, Texas home to parents of limited means. Otis lost his mother, Sarah, who died of heart failure before his first birthday. The tragedy of her passing would later inspire his life's work. Otis grew up determined and focused, excelling in school and eventually becoming valedictorian of his high school class. His mother's passing from heart failure motivated him to invent technologies that would help save lives, including crucial components for the pacemaker. Too poor to finish Fisk University, Boykin refused to stop learning. He worked jobs by day and invented by night, building a lab with his own hands. In a world where white engineers had opened doors, Boykin had to build his own, creating a resistor so durable and cheap it powered everything from TVs to missiles. Then he did the impossible, inventing a control unit that made pacemakers safer, reliable, and affordable, turning his mother's tragedy into millions of heartbeats. Companies took his ideas, paid him pennies, but they couldn't take his legacy. A black inventor who gave the world better life through pure brilliance. Today, every heartbeat powered by a pacemaker carries Otis Boykin's dream. Proof that talent, grit, and purpose breaks open closed doors. Do you think Otis Boykin's genius would have been celebrated or stolen if he hadn't been black? Drop your honest thoughts below. Black inventor Jerry Lawson didn't just change the world, he changed the game. Long before Nintendo, before Xbox, before the billion-dollar gaming industry even existed, one man in Silicon Valley quietly changed everything. And most people still don't know his name. Born in Brooklyn in 1940, Jerry Lawson was repairing TVs and building AM radios by 13. He enrolled in college but left when he started making more money than his professors. His mom, a PTA president, got him a subscription to Popular Electronics, and it lit a fire he never put out. He said, "Why stay in school when I'm already doing the work they're only talking about?" In the early 70s, Lawson became one of the only black engineers in Silicon Valley at Fairchild Semiconductor. He led the team that built the Fairchild Channel F, the first home console with interchangeable game cartridges. Before that, games were hardwired into machines. Jerry made them swappable, launching a model that every console still follows today. Lawson stood nearly alone. He was one of only 2 black members of the Homebrew Computer Club, the Silicon Valley brain trust that birthed Apple. He didn't just innovate. He endured discrimination and isolation. Years later, a young black gamer stopped him on the street and said, "You made my childhood." That moment, Jerry said, meant everything. He went on to start one of the first black-owned game companies, Videosoft, and later mentored students at Stanford. When asked what advice he had for future creators, Lawson said, "You can't wait for them to hand you the mic. Take it and speak your code." Jerry Lawson passed in 2011, just months after finally being honored by the gaming world. But every cartridge, every console, every downloadable game carries his fingerprint. He is finally recognized as the father of gaming. Did you know his name? Let us know in the comments. Patricia Bath was only 6 when her mother gave her a cheap toy chemistry set, the spark that would one day light up eyes around the world. Years later, fresh out of Howard's medical school, Dr. Bath walked into Harlem Hospital and saw the hidden epidemic. Entire black communities going blind from diseases no one bothered to treat. Doctors told her blindness was inevitable for those people. Patricia refused to believe it. During her internship, she noticed that at Harlem Hospital, about half the patients were blind or visually impaired, while at Columbia, just a few miles away, there were very few blind patients. She saw clear evidence that the high rates of blindness in black communities were not due to fate, but to lack of access to proper eye care. At night, she worked on ideas. What if a beam of light could do what a blade could not? When U.S. hospitals turned her away, she packed her notes and flew to Europe, spending her savings to prove she was right. In 1986, her idea became real, the Laserfico probe, a device that used laser precision to dissolve cataracts without pain. One day, she treated a woman who hadn't seen the world for 30 years. When the bandages came off, the woman wept at the sight of her grandchildren. The same tool U.S. gatekeepers mock now restores vision on every continent, millions of eyes opened by one woman's refusal to close hers. Patricia Bath didn't just restore sight, she used her brilliance and lived experience as a black woman to push back against injustice, leveling the playing field not just for patients of color, but for the world. Her invention helped millions, but her motivation was personal. Do you believe the best breakthroughs come from pain and purpose? Share in the comments. What if I told you the voice you hear on Zoom exists because of a black inventor most people have never heard of? Her inventions power everything from FaceTime to disaster relief. And she did it while breaking barriers and refusing to be boxed in. Marian Croak grew up in 1960s New York, curious, observant, and fascinated by how things worked. She didn't play with dolls, she followed plumbers. Her father built her a chemistry set. Her mother taught her to challenge the world with questions. That early curiosity led her to Princeton, then a PhD in social psychology. But it wasn't until she joined AT&T Bell Labs that she found her true calling, building technology that brings people together. At Bell Labs, Marian imagined a wild idea. What if your voice could travel across the internet, just like email? People laughed. VoIP was glitchy, experimental, unreliable. But she knew it could work and she pushed until it did. Today, her patents are in nearly every digital voice service we use. Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp. And she didn't stop with voice. When Hurricane Katrina hit, Marian used text to donate tech based on systems used to vote on American Idol to raise emergency aid. That innovation helped raise $130,000 for Katrina and later $43 million for Haiti. She took tech that entertained us and used it to save lives. In 2014, Google came calling. She now leads teams in AI ethics, global connectivity, and site reliability for YouTube. She also leads Black leadership programs and mentors women of color. Reminding us in her own words, being part of the group spoils your perspective. Invention requires you to be different.